Well, thank you very much. What a privilege to be here. Denisha, thank you for sharing your story. Walter, thank you for sharing your story. You're why we're here today. Let me say thank you especially to all the kids who are here, to all the kids who are up here with us. You're why we're here today. We're here celebrating you, but we're also here celebrating your future. Let me say to all the school kids here, you can do anything you set your mind to. You can do anything you can dream, no matter how big you dream. And what we're here fighting for is the key to getting there. Education can open every door you want to see opened in your future. And a lack of education can close every door you hope to see opened in your future. And I'll tell you to all the kids, you may think life is tough. Look, my father, when he was a teenager, was imprisoned and tortured in Cuba. My father came to America at 18 years old with $100 in his underwear. By the way, kids, don't carry money in your underwear. It's kind of nasty. But that's what my dad did. He came here with nothing. He washed dishes making 50 cents an hour. He couldn't speak English. But he came here and got an education. He'd been admitted to the University of Texas. And he learned English. He got a degree. He went on and got a job. He worked to build a career. Education opens those doors. And I believe school choice is the civil rights issue of the 21st century. What does that mean? It means if you care about civil rights, if you care about fighting for the future of every kid in America, then you care about school choice, and I believe every child in America has a right to have access to excellent education. It doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where you live. We are fighting for every single child in America to have the right to get excellent education. Now, today is an exciting day. This legislation that we're introducing today, it is big and it is bold. $10 billion a year, $100 billion over 10 years, going to expand educational options. Even in Washington, that's a lot of money. And the lives that this legislation will change. The lives, the Denishas and Walters that will come up here one after the other, who will say, I was trapped, I was scared, I didn't know that I had a future, I didn't know that I had an option. But then I got a scholarship. Then I got a lifeline, then I got a path towards hope. The way this works is simple. It's a federal tax credit, dollar for dollar tax credit, for giving money to scholarship granting organizations, to organizations in each state that will be giving scholarships to kids. Now, this legislation is opt-in, which means each state can decide whether to participate or not. This legislation is controlled and administered by the states, which means it's not the federal government dictating to every state, here's how you should run education. Rather, it is respecting federalism. It is respecting each of the 50 states can decide the right way to do it. There are ironclad protections in this legislation that the federal government can't stick its fingers into curriculum and change what schools are teaching. That's a state and local question. This legislation also provides for apprenticeships and for workplace development so that you can go, if you want to go and get a job in the trades, and if you want to go and get a job and join a union, if you want to go and get a job and work at a factory, that you can get steps, training to work towards that career. Secretary DeVos rightly noted that there'll be a political fight over this legislation. And some will characterize this, somebody's going to write a story saying this is an attack on the public schools. Anyone who writes that story is not overly concerned with truth. Because here are facts. Not only does this legislation doesn't take a penny 1 penny from any public school in America. It doesn't take 1 penny from any teacher in America. What it does do is adds $100 billion worth of new pennies to create scholarships and expand opportunities. And what that's going to do is it's, number one, going to provide lifelines to kids that wouldn't otherwise have that lifeline and that hope. But number two, this legislation is going to improve public schools. I believe in public schools. Public schools are educating and will continue to educate the vast majority of our kids. But what we've seen in state after state after state is that when you have school choice options, when kids and parents are empowered, the public schools improve. Competition improves, and in this case, injecting new money to give that freedom, to give that competition, to give that power of choice will enhance the quality of education for kids all across this country. I want to thank Secretary DeVos for her strong and passionate leadership fighting for every child in America. I want to thank my colleagues in the Senate and House for working together. This should be, and I hope it will be, bipartisan legislation. Today in Washington, as divided as it is, there are a lot of partisan fights. But we ought to be able to come together and say, look, one thing we agree on is kids, and every kid deserves a chance. I'm proud to stand up here and be fighting for each and every one of you. I'm proud to tell your stories. And I'm proud to work with you till we realize the dream. You know, dream is a term that's used a lot. Dr. Martin Luther King stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, declared to the world, I have a dream. And it was a dream that every person would be judged, not by the color of their skin, by the content of their character. This legislation today is a major step towards fulfilling that dream, towards making that dream a realization, because it's a major step to helping kids get the education that can open up your dreams to your future. And I'm proud to stand with you today. Thank you.